This is the Cartesian Diver exhibit. The exhibit consists of a clear, water-filled cylinder, a floating medicine dropper with an air pocket inside the cylinder, and a plunger in front of the cylinder that pumps air on top of the water column. Notice that the diver is now floating on the top part of the cylinder. What happens when you push downwards on the plunger? A. The diver will go down, or B. The diver will stay in place. The answer is A. The diver went down. But why? How can just pushing more air into the cylinder make the diver go down? Before we explain the principle involved in this exhibit, let's try another experiment. Can you try to push just enough on the plunger to make the diver stay in the middle height of the cylinder? The Cartesian Diver exhibit is named after its inventor, the French scientist René Descartes. It is a device designed to demonstrate buoyancy. Buoyancy is the upward force that water exerts on an object within it. Buoyancy is equivalent to the weight of the water displaced by an object. Ships float in spite of their enormous size and weight because their bottoms are constructed in such a way that it displaces a large volume of water. The weight of this displaced volume of water is great enough to produce a buoyant force to keep the large ship afloat. Simply, the more dense a material is, the more it will sink. The dropper in the exhibit is designed to let in water from a hole in its bottom. It can displace and retain enough water to make it buoyant or submerge. When you press down on the plunger, the pressure is transmitted to the water. The water presses on the rubber bulb of the medicine dropper. The rubber bulb of the medicine dropper is compressed, and water enters through the hole at its bottom. The bulb loses volume and thus becomes more dense due to its smaller volume. Because of the smaller volume of its rubber bulb, the medicine dropper now has less buoyancy, and so it sinks to the bottom of the cylinder. As it sinks, it gets into deeper water, where the pressure becomes even greater because of the increasing weight of the water above it. When you release the plunger, the pressure on the water is reduced, and therefore less pressure on the rubber bulb. The rubber bulb expands and increases volume again, so it becomes more buoyant and therefore begins to rise. With just enough pressure on the plunger, you can control how much the Cartesian diver sinks or floats. The principle used in the Cartesian Diver exhibit is the same principle used for submarines and other submersible vehicles or equipment. Submarines have air ballasts that can be filled with either air or water. By balancing the amount of water and air, the submersion depth of underwater vehicles can be controlled.